you. All right, so one of the things that I want to express to you that he just brought up is that what I've done is just used my own personal willpower to create. And that's what every one of you have. We don't need permission to do things.
We don't need anyone's permission to do the right thing. Every one of us can make things right. And the way to do that is to think differently. When I first came to Detroit, I grew up in a college town where the police were tasked with creating conditions where students can be safe, because if the students aren't safe, the police will not have money. It's not because they were being benevolent, it's because they were being prudent. You can't buy new police cars without these college kids. So there's 50,000 kids at University of Michigan, Ann Arbor. That's where I grew up. There is no crime. There are no gangs. If there's a gang there, they're part of the tennis team or lacrosse team or something. So when I came to Detroit, I couldn't believe that there were families living in a state where it was like a third world city. And I called the police and I'd say, you know, there's someone shooting over here, there's a home invasion, people are screaming, and the police would say, the 911 operators started to know my name, and when the police would come on the scene in the area, they were like, yeah, of course there are people screaming, of course there are people dying in their homes, because you're in Detroit. That's what they do here. They believed that this is the way the families were supposed to live. And I would not accept that. I was an airborne paratrooper, a martial artist all my life. I'm a firearms instructor. I love guns. So I was not going to, as a warrior, allow families to perish while I lived a decent life. In the same area. I lived right on a major street across from where the mayor lived, and around the corner, literally all the way around the block, I lived in a 17-story building. People in my building were working class people and doing pretty okay. And the people around the buildings of the 1 square block were rougher families. Families didn't have it quite as well. And their buildings were rougher. So there was 1,000 homes, or apartments rather. 500 of them were unoccupied. So 50% occupancy. And why is that? Because people don't live where people are dying. When people find out there's a murder next door, they get their kids and they get out of there. When they find out someone was robbed in front of the building, they don't want to live in the building either. So they move out. So I went to the building owners and I said, listen, this is terrible. We should put lights up front. We should get a better lock for the doors for the families. We should help them. And the building owner was like, wow, that's great. Good luck with that. You have great ideas. I swear he looked at the secretary, he was like, this guy's pretty funny, he's gonna help the community. Good luck with that. I was like, is this guy laughing? This guy's serious? He's rich. When I say he's rich, it's ridiculous. He's never there after sundown, let me be clear. The sun comes down in Detroit, this guy has never seen a dark day in Detroit, and he's owned buildings there for 40 years. When it gets dark, he is 50 miles away. But he loves going there every day during the daylight. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, this guy's making all this money. And all he thinks about is the fact that he's running in the red. Why is he running in the red? Because the occupancy's low. Why is that? Because people are dying. Because people are having their doors kicked in. Because even though you work hard and you come home, all your stuff's gone. Or your kids are missing. It's terrible. So what I did was I said, you know what, let me rephrase. Let me go talk to this guy a different way. Let me speak his language. What is his language? Did he sign up to own all these buildings because he wants to help people in the inner city? He's a benevolent, rich person. To come to the city and help a bunch of poor people. These are all different types of people, mostly African American. But there's all different types of ethnicities all living there. A lot of senior citizens. And I said, wait a minute, I'm speaking the wrong language. So I found out how many people moved out. They lost $70,000 in this 1 square block just in the past couple months. So I went to him, I said, give me 6 months, give me $2,000 a month, give me my apartment for free before you evict me, because I haven't paid rent a couple months and I don't have any money. And, did I mention I worked with this guy 40 hours a week? Sorry. I worked 80 hours a week. He paid me for 40. Minimum wage was $5.15. He had no problem paying me $4.50. Overtime was 0. And he was still going to evict me. I was like, I'm working 80 hours for you, helping the families, for free, obviously 40 hours. Can you just cut me some slack on the, late? No, I cannot. No, you're a nice young man, I'm going to evict you. He was very nice. He was very, very positive. He was just like, you're going to be evicted. So when I came with this $2,000 a month plan, remember, that was like $2 million to me. I thought I was rich. When he said yes, I was like, oh my God, I'm rich. I have $2,000 a month. Are you kidding? In a free apartment, I am now officially rich. So then I had to buy dog food and bullets and guns, and I had no more money again. But he did evict me. Let me pay him off for the next 6 months. Anyway, he didn't get rich by accident. So in the next 6 months, what he did, he gave me 6 months. He said, you have 6 months. In that 6 months, I got rid of all the murders, all the home invasions. There was one more home invasion. I caught them. And when I caught them, I didn't beat them down or shoot them. I caught 2 of them, and I told them to sit down, and it'll be okay. And, one guy, they attacked an 80-year-old man in his house. They attacked him because when they went into his house, because when they got home after not paying their rent, their stuff was put outside by the sheriff, and they thought the prudent thing to do was to attack the 80-year-old man who sweeps the stairwell, since he knew who took all their things. So they break into the 80-year-old man's house. He owns nothing. They smash the glass in his arm. One of the guys rips his artery open. He's literally dying when I got there. So I told the president, stop running. Your friend's arterial blood's shooting out. Save his life. Take your shirt off. First aid. Wait right here. Ambulance comes. Talk to him. And I said, listen, you run, it hurts. You sit down. It's no problem. Sit down. This guy's been there 20 years. It's home invasion 1. The man is home. They attacked him. These guys, when I waited for 4 hours for the police. The police never showed up. Guess they're too busy to pick up home invaders. And so I took him to the police station. One guy went to the hospital. I took him to the police station. The other guy walked in. The police were like, what are you doing? I was like, yeah, I'm security. It's a home invader. They were like, well, what do you want us to do with him? I was like, well, you're the police, and he breaks into people's homes and attacks them, like Afghanistan, but it's actually America, like that. They were like, no, he can go. The guy looked at me and goes, I can go? I said, listen, man, you should probably escape. No, that's what he said to me as we left. He goes, can I get a ride back to the neighborhood? I was like, you attacked an 80-year-old man. This is where you run for me. See, the police are watching right now. That's helping you. You should run right now. If we go around this corner, you're with me, you're going to fall down. You attacked a grandfather, man. That could be my granddad.
That's right.
You should run. He did. He ran that way. He's like, okay. So I go to the hospital. I got one more guy, right? Remember he was hurt? I get there. The state trooper comes up. He goes, State Trooper Johnson goes, hey, man, great job what you're doing in the community. I heard about what you're doing. It's great. It's great. Outstanding. I was like, yes, home invader, broke in. I'm still in shock about the other one. I just walked out of the police station when the guy's supposed to be looking at 20 years in prison. I'm still in shock. Like, is this really happening in America? You can break in a house, attack people, someone takes you to the police station, and the police will put you out. How is that possible? I'm still in shock. Like, yes, hi, State Trooper. He goes, just want to say thank you. My stepson has been let out of control. You don't have a problem with me taking off him right now, do you? I was like, I'm sorry, what? He goes, yeah, my stepson, he apparently something with this guy, breaking in a house or something. I was like, oh, that's your stepson? He goes, yeah. I was like, yeah, he's got to go to prison or something. He's a bad guy. He was like, oh, are you sure about that? I was like, what do you mean? He goes, well, I understand you guys are out doing all kinds of things, cleaning up the community. We should harass you. He didn't say it exactly like that, but he insinuated. I'm smart enough to understand what he means. I said, oh, that stepson. Oh, no, my men and I are leaving. So we left, and the guy, obviously, the other home invader, he got to go home too. That is not public safety. That is what law enforcement is. Privileges to do different things. These law enforcement officers are doing whatever it is that they do. Public safety is the opposite of that. Public safety would be preventing all of that from ever happening, but definitely not enabling people because you know them. If they knew, they should also know that you have loyalty and integrity to your mission, which is public safety, and therefore they would know, unfortunately, my stepdad just caught me, I'm definitely going to prison now. But that's not what happens. And it's that kind of cronyism and nepotism that runs rampant in many different types of organizations, especially in government settings. So this is a fundamental issue we're having where we don't focus on what's important. And what I did was I looked at those families there as though they were my family. I looked at the kids there as though, what if that was me as a kid? What if I grew up here? And I didn't say, well, look at the police and what they're not doing. I just said, you know what? That's none of my business. Just like the drug dealer. I don't care if they're dealing drugs. I told the drug dealers, I don't know if you deal drugs. I have no idea. What I care about is one thing, family safety. If you're not interfering with the families, we don't have a problem. I don't know if you're a drug dealer, but if you have traffic, we have a problem because kids can't sleep with traffic going up and down stairwells. If you have people going from your apartment and going into other people's apartments, that's going to be a problem because they're interfering with families. So the truth is, I think drug dealers started moving, they moved their drug dealing operations out, but they physically lived in the buildings because they knew they were safe. Because the guy with a rifle was volunteering to keep everyone safe. And there was no violence. And what I did was I made sure that I focused on one thing, violence, not people. People are not the enemy. I don't know if someone went to prison or didn't go to prison before. I don't know if they used to be in a gang or aged out of a gang or whatever this is. Or I don't know if they have a drug problem or alcohol problem. What I know is this, violence is the problem. If we prevent the violence, then we can have a good quality of life for everyone.
Yes.
The byproduct of that was this. The building owner went into the black for the first time in 20 years. They became profitable. Why is that? Because when the families didn't experience home invasion and murder, they stayed, they paid their rent. They also went to the store, to the laundromat, to the Chinese food store, the other places around the area, cell phone stores, all kinds of things started popping up because it turns out where families are, businesses thrive. Suddenly, the guy, the rich guy that owned my building, he didn't like me. He liked my results. He had no new affinity for me. I was not his favorite person. My results were his favorite results. He had no like for me, only what I could do for him. That's fine. I prospered him. The police were harassing me at the time. Say this is 1995, 96, 97. The police were harassing me. One time, the police officer came to me and said, just want to let you know, we have 3 people that are complaining that you sprayed them with chemicals. I said, really? I said, you have 3 people? Do you know their name? Oh, yeah, no. I said, so you have 3 people that are saying I sprayed them with chemicals. You don't know their name. Did you see their ID? No. Did you have to ask them what they were doing? They were harassing families at 3:30 in the morning, making life hell for people. And they don't have any ID, and they're not going to go to court because they're bad guys. They're here to harm families. They're not safe here. And guess what? They never came back. And I told the officer, I said, officer, you can tell the detectives to call me. I'll go down there. We can talk about it in person. I won't even call my lawyer. You can have the guy meet me, whoever these guys are saying they got sprayed with chemicals. Every one of those guys got sprayed with chemicals are alive. Every one of them were a threat. They physically were threatening me at the time, and I found a way to not kill them. I'm a person who owns many guns, trained in many martial arts. I don't mind putting the boot to a violent person. But these individuals could be dealt with without killing. I could stop them and their aggression without harming them permanently. Legally, I could have killed them. Legally, I could articulate their death even as a civilian. But I chose not to because my objective was to not kill. I conceived a way not to kill. I believed I could manage human threat. Even in Detroit, in the middle of the night, even though they're criminals, I could conceive and believe and achieve a non-kill outcome, an anti-kill outcome. Anti-kill philosophy is being used. I created an idea that you can still manage human aggression under all conditions without killing them. And it's true. Now it's not a theory, it's not speculation, this is fact. You don't need guns to solve an issue. You don't need to kill people to stop human aggression. You can stop their belief system. And you can do it in a very nonviolent way. In fact, if I went back in time, I wouldn't even have to spray them with chemicals, knowing what I know now. I'd spray the ground, and they would still leave the area. Because you can't do things harmful here if you can't breathe here. So there's always a way to non-violently change human behavior. And that's what we have to understand, is that psychology is the key to human behavior, not physicality. In fact, when people hit you, you want to hit them back. So actual violence begets more violence. It actually grows violence. So we need to find a nonviolent way to deal with situations. We train law enforcement officers as well as civilians. When I train police officers, they're attracted to our violence. They're attracted to the violence of our training. When they look at our videos, they see our firearms, they see our transitions, the way in which we move with our weapons, the way we move with our tactics from hand-to-hand to weaponry. The police officers are attracted to that. I use that as a vehicle to introduce them to an anti-kill philosophy. And I show them a bunch of techniques on how not to kill people. They accidentally like it. They're like, wow, I didn't come here for that, but man, that technique works great. And they come back with great stories of how they were able to take someone into custody without hurting them. One of the things you'll see on our website is that there's a police testimonial from a sergeant who's an instructor, and he came to class on 1 week, and the next week came back just to stop by to tell me that the training worked for him in a real life situation. He wanted to say thank you. He told me that, and he says on the website in the video, which he could be in a lot of trouble for, by the way. Those guys are not supposed to be on that video, especially in their uniform or say Detroit police. They are on there. There's also a federal agent on there that looks like Jack Bauer. I think he is Jack Bauer. This is non-violent Jack Bauer. So anyway, the police officer said that a lady came at him with a stick, with a bludgeon. She was going to strike him in the head. Normally he would have dropped back and shot her or smashed her skull into something or something. I showed him how to come in, redirect, take the weapon from her, and take her into control, and he did that and did not. And he used a thumb technique, so he blocked the weapon, used the thumb, released the weapon, and took her into custody without knocking her to the ground, beating her, or any other things. This is what we take pride in, the way in which we can create a nonviolent outcome. So that's what we do with police officers. We literally teach them techniques that allow them to make the choice that we would like them to make. Ideally speaking, we would like to eventually move to the part where we can train them in I have police officers on my staff that are instructors specifically for them, because police generally need to be taught by police. That's one of the basic teaching principles of law enforcement. So the experience that you're going to have in all law enforcement markets, no matter where you are, is going to be the same. Police believe that their survival is paramount. In other words, what's most important to them is that their survival, getting home to their family at night, is what's most important. If you're going to be a bodyguard, if you're going to protect anyone, what's most important is that whoever believes in you and trusts you with their life, they have to know that they're getting home to their family first and foremost, and that you are secondary. So by definition, bodyguard training, which is what we offer in our organization, for the individual, for the family, because that's what you are, right? You are your own bodyguard. You're also a bodyguard for your family. So you getting home while your family perishes is not good. So you don't get there and go, oh man, these people came out and attacked my mom, but I'm good. I got home. My mom, she's outside. I'm laughing at her, but I'm good. I'm safe. There's no reward there. So you are your bodyguard for your mom, your children, grandparents. So that's what we train you. It starts with your philosophy, your belief system. And then we give you the tactics to support that. Another thing that we do is physically send people out to protect people. So the courts, and this is why we don't have problems with law enforcement to this day, the police department got credit for the things we did back when it was a much smaller operation. It started with just a dog and a rifle in 1995 and 94. And at first, I just wanted to teach people. So let me be clear about how this started. I just wanted to teach people to defend themselves. In my school, my idea was that you should have training that also understands their laws. So you need law and training corresponding together so you don't get yourself in trouble, so you don't lose all your money by giving it to lawyers, getting yourself locked up after you win a fight, or shooting someone inappropriately. In my school, there are no swords. There is a baton, knife, pistol, shotgun, rifle, just like regular America. Your training matches your life. These are the things that you'll experience in life. So we teach you how to stand up, protect yourself, how to protect yourself on the ground. You leave in our training courses. You always leave your foot protected. Just like we don't live on the beaches, so we don't really take our shoes off to train because everything changes just based upon what you're wearing. So we want you to wear as much natural clothing as possible in training. And the history basically was just that. What I wanted to teach people, what I found out was, unfortunately, law enforcement was fixated on prosecuting people after laws have been broken. And that's the same everywhere. Law enforcement is, in general, a response organization. And we're always asking them for preventive concepts and ideas and results, which does not match their purpose. They're not called law enforcement preventers. They're called law enforcement officers. In order for you to enforce a law, it has to be broken. If law enforcement is 100% successful, you are 100% unhappy. If they catch every criminal, you are now officially broke because all of your money is going to go to the criminal justice system. There will be no money left over for any organization, for any community to thrive, let alone survive. You cannot prosecute your way to a prosperous societal structure. The only way to do that, to have a prosperous society, is for us to prevent violence. And that's what this is. This is called the bridge. We call it preventive threat management, the bridge towards what we're looking for. What we are all looking for is good quality of life, which we cannot have by having violence from either criminals or from police as it relates to managing the human condition. So we don't need more violence, we need less violence. The system to support that ideology is vital, and that's what we created. So it's a way of thinking, a psychological position, it's a way of creating conditions, and it's a way of literally, physically conducting yourself. You have a choice, and you choose to non-violently address the issue, and that's how you end up not killing your neighbor kid who just broke in your house and was thinking about stealing your video player on your deck. And now you could blow his brains out, but you found out there's a better way to handle this, and instead of shooting in the back room and then finding out it's one of your kids' friends from high school, or used to be a kid's friend, and now he's breaking in your house and thought you weren't home, and now you killed your daughter's boyfriend. That happens all the time. You didn't know your daughter had a boyfriend, sneaking in the back of the house, and it's not a criminal, it's daughter's boyfriend. Not the same thing. And when you ask her, does she know him? Of course she's going to say no, and then you shoot him, and then you find out that's her boyfriend. Happens all the time. Very avoidable deaths. Very avoidable. At the end of the day, how do you feel when you killed the neighbor kid? How do you feel when you killed the kid down the street who was just trying to steal the video player, the TV or something? It doesn't feel good. So wouldn't it be better if you could say something like, sorry, I pepper sprayed your kid. You guys shouldn't be breaking our house. It'd be better if you had some other non-lethal options. That's really what we really want to reinforce here, is that every one of us has made mistakes, and kids often make mistakes. And we hold people accountable in other ways other than death, we'll all have a happier society. So ultimately, what this has led to is that now, years later, my wife and I have many employees that lead a very decent life because we don't pay the minimum standards, we always pay the maximum. When we hire people, we hire them by getting them from other working places, and we pay them more money. If they work there 5 years to earn that wage, I automatically buy them out. I find out what they're getting paid, and I just pay them more to leave that company to go join this one. We look for people that are good people, not people that want to sniper people. We get recruits back from Iraq. They're like, yeah, just get back, snipering. Okay, you should. We don't have any sniper positions. But let's say you have a salesman, cousin, or something. If you're a good salesman, guess what you can sell? Anything, including peace. And that is a choice. A better person to protect you and your family is a person who's fixated on selling something, getting along with people, the ability for you to communicate with people. That's how you can stop violence and stop negative conditions. As it relates to your community in general, your property values will ascend just like the communities we work for now. We work in a community, if you go online, you'll see some stories also on our discs up there, which are available for you. The communities that we protect now are extremely upscale. The average home is probably 5 to 10,000 square feet, and then some of the larger ones are 20,000, 30,000 square feet. There's even one that's 55,000 square feet. It was a Catholic bishop's house at one point. Now it's owned by a evangelist. But this is right in Detroit. So imagine all things you heard about Detroit, which is really based upon the fact that the police do not want to prevent these things. They don't want to prevent the criminal activity. Why don't police want to prevent violence? Because that's not their purpose. It's not that they're being nefarious or evil. The police are simply trying to get arrests, which you can only get by getting there after the perpetration of crime, which makes the stories of Detroit. So before we blame the police for all those negatives, we got to remember the philosophy is what taught them this thought process. They're going to come after everyone's been raped, robbed, or killed, and they're going to do their best to, whatever it is that they do, to process people in their way. But that's not really what we want as society. What we really want is what? We want non-predatory outcomes. We don't want people being raped, robbed, or killed. Well, that's not what law enforcement is. And that's something you all have the ability to change. You can change it individually. You can change it with groups. You can change it yourself, personally, by being proactive about preventing the conditions which lead to predatory conditions. If you don't let things happen, if you don't let opportunities exist for communities to suffer, if you don't let criminals get in position, if you don't let them sit outside, sit over there without you finding out who they are in a positive way, then you can stop the conditions of predation. They can't steal a child if they don't have access to get to the child. We create conditions for negative or positive, and all of us have the ability to affect change in a positive way. So what threat management is, and that's what you see in your booklet, is just how to have a thought process and a set of actions that leads to what you want. And what we do know is that prosecution, persecution, incarceration does not lead to what we want anywhere. No one is happy. Everyone is unhappy with a prosecutorial philosophy. And even the police are unhappy about it. What's the number one killer of police officers? Police officers. Suicide is their highest killer. Over 300 police officers kill themselves a year.
Wow.
That is not something that they like talking about. It's over 300 a year. How many police officers die from car accidents? 200. How many die from criminals? 100 or less.
Wow.
Think about that for a second. Under 100 killed by criminals. 200 by cars, 300 by police officers themselves. Very stressful. What's stressful about it? Their internal issues, not crime. Crime is something they come to 99.5% of the time after it has happened. That's not very stressful. What's stressful is their internal issues they're having. And they have a lot in every municipality. In fact, probably the smaller the municipality, the more personal problems they have. And I'm sure they're not going to share that with you. Just know they have a lot of personal issues. And my point in saying that is, this affects you because you're thinking about your safety, your family, your situation. And remember, they're doing the same thing. They're just a group thinking about their situation. And my point is, you think about the solutions you need for you and your family, for your community, by preventing. And that is not, I mean, it can involve law enforcement if you get some proactive, positive law enforcement officers that want to be involved. And there are different jurisdictions, you know, one or two, sometimes even a sergeant that's a good guy or a lieutenant. If you can get to them, bring them into your fold and start communicating with them. And one more thing, never argue with police about anything. There, and move on to something positive like protecting yourself and your family from violent criminals. And avoid that conflict, because all that's going to do is create a condition you cannot win. Until the only way to win that situation is to change laws that govern law enforcement. So arguing with police is just never productive. And so what we want to do is try to inspire police to change, and one of the things we can do to do that as a society is we can reward them for the change. We can reward them, give them financial bonuses for not killing, for arresting people without injuring people. That's something we can look forward to in the future. Some of the things, so the initiatives we're trying to push forward is to get law enforcement officers to change their belief system initially just through the one thing that motivates them the most, which is money. It's unfortunate, but that might be the one thing we can do right now as a bridge to get to the next level, which is where one day there will be police accountability, actual accountability the way you and I have accountability. If you put your hands on someone, you are accountable for the results, the reason and the results. In law enforcement, that's not the same thing. So they need to have the same. They should be the same. They should be accountable just like all of us. It should be no different. There should be no special immunities. You don't need it. They don't need it. We should all have the same respect, the same level of ability to protect ourselves and our communities. And that's not where we're at right now. And so what threat management is about understanding that. You don't have to agree. We just have to understand it so we can do the right thing for you and your family. And I don't just hear. I've been standing there when what people would say is the good officer of the multiple officers does a horrible thing to someone's child who thought they could do something like ask a police officer the name and badge number. What I would tell you is get a lawyer and a judge in the room, then you start asking questions. I've seen too many children and women suffer, and young men who didn't understand. I've seen them suffer right in my presence as police officers explain to them what rules they're willing to obey relating to their discomfort. So arguing, making them uncomfortable without a lawyer or a judge in the room is not in anyone's best interest for them and their children. But again, if you find some good officers that are in your area, try your best to link up with them and motivate them to help you. And that's what we do as well. We try to bond with good officers in the area that we can to get them to see things in a more proactive and positive way. And now today we have, if you look on our website and also in the book that you have there, you'll see boats and Hummers and other things. All those things came from one thing: positive financial conditions, because we created positive outcomes. The only way to do that is not give all of your money to attorneys for negative outcomes. If I have an altercation and I have to kill someone, you can bet an attorney is going to get a lot of money. If I can take the spit this boy just put in my face and wipe it off and drive on, which is what I did, I can take $4,000 home for 2 days of work. That's after paying my men thousands of dollars. Now, if I do what I feel like doing, which is getting revenge and getting spit on, this boy just spit through a beer tent, and it's spit in my eyes, mouth, everything. If I respond by grabbing this boy and teaching him a lesson, I'm going to go into custody today. My attorney will get a writ. That's $2,000 gone right there. As I get to whip this kid's butt into giving me my respect, not spitting on me. Plus, spitting is illegal, right? It's legally can't spit on someone. So I can also prosecute him after I get myself out of jail. So, or I can shut up, wipe the spit off, and move on. Turns out I'm spit proof. I am spit proof. I've been elbowed and pushed. Because I'm resilient, I get to have a better quality of life. We don't have to respond just because we feel something. And that's also part of threat management. That's, one of the things I really have never got a chance to be able to get any of my police officers who work for me to ever understand. They cannot go with the spit part. I understand it. And that's fine. But at the end of the day, we're all responsible as civilians for our outcomes. So, at the end of the day, you have to make decisions in your best interest long term. So now, the police got respect for all the 911 calls that dropped down back in the old days, and that commander still, now he's a higher ranking commander, and he remembers that I dropped his 911 calls down back when he was in charge of a really bad area, and he gives us a lot of respect now. I said my first contact with the chief of police, very positive. The communities that we protect now are upscale, extremely upscale. The politicians, the successful business owners, the executives that are older, live in these communities. There were 20 to 30 men drifting through these communities per day. 20 to 30 men drifting through. Various scammers. Some were actually hardcore criminals looking for the opportunity to run into a wealthy older person's home and attack them. Most of them were some type of drug addict that was manipulating their position and ability to be legally in the community. What we did was we devised legal psychological methods of manipulating them. And that's what we use as key, fundamental to changing behavior, psychology. Back when I dealt with drug dealers, they were hardcore gangs, I went to them and I said, you know, I didn't have any money at first, so in the 90s, we had these little flash cameras. I don't know if you remember these cameras. You press the button and the bulb on top turns and flashes. And some of you don't know any idea what I'm talking about. You do. So you click it, you go like this, and it rotates. So I didn't have any money. We had those without film. And I had guys, kids from local high school, up on the rooftops of these buildings in the inner city. And I'd go over to the police, to the guys sun tanning, African American sun tanning men, and I would say, guys, listen, I'm not saying you're drug dealers. I'm simply saying the police are taking our footage and they're looking for anybody with warrants. So if you know anyone who has warrants, let them know. Police are taking our footage. They look at me and they're like, good looking out. And then they get off the block. I mean, they literally went away because they think I'm helping them. Now, the walls of apartment buildings filled with gangs and families and the elderly people being harassed by these gangs, I put on the wall, I laminated a document that said, police attention, you must contact this number because there are undercover armed security posing as drug dealers in these buildings. And it was not true. The number was active, but it was not true. There were no undercover armed security posing as drug dealers. But all the drug dealers, thug dealers, really is what they were. Started looking at each other funny, stopped talking to each other, stopped trusting each other, didn't want to be around each other. And suddenly the hallways got real clear. No one wanted to associate with each other. They just weren't sure. Then we have a video where it shows us pull up unmarked vehicle, just like in the movies. There were drug dealers on this one corner. I guess they've been there since the 70s or 60s or something. And they were literally standing there in broad daylight, and cars would pull up right in the middle of, you know, a major street, and the guys would reach in with their hands, reach out, start counting money, and then the car would drive away. I was like, I thought that was illegal or something. But apparently, you just got to accept the 10 men here. And the kids are like coming through here, they're scared, they're trying to go, you know, to school or to the bus stops. And there's a laundromat right there in the corner. What they were doing was intimidating the laundromat owners into not saying anything. They're going to put their drugs in there. And you can't say anything or they'll burn your laundromat down. The families are coming and going there. You're having to interact with these thug dealers. These are not drug dealers, these are thug dealers. The difference is drug dealers are just trying to deal drugs between the adult and themselves. The thug dealers are there to use the money to oppress the other people, to buy bullets and guns to just harm others. Totally different types of people. So, I have a video of us pulling up. PA system comes up, so I clear the area. Two of the guys yell, we're not going anywhere. I get out of the vehicle. There's two of us, because there is two of us. That's all there is at the time. And that's all the entire organization consists of, two people. And my dog was scared, so he's not even there. And so, the real drug dealers are on the corner. I come up to the corner. Two guys step forward. You see me coming and praying. I hit him across the leg. His leg snaps, or the sound snaps. And he lifts me off the ground. My legs flip up off the ground. I choke him down, take him away. No one ever sees him again. The 8 drug dealers that didn't step forward took off running, never came back. That corner stayed clear to this day. If you go there right now, there are no drug dealers there. And they had been there, I guess, since 1995 to sometime in the 60s or something. So that ended. We got known as the body snatcher. I showed the video to the owners of the buildings. They're like, my God, you snatch these bodies, these people, you can't do it, it's illegal. But I did think it was interesting though. These rich men just fired me because they think I abducted drug dealers and they think they can fire me in the same room. I thought that was pretty fun. I was like, so I'm like a bad guy that does bad things, but then I don't abduct you, only drug dealers. Anyway, I said, sir, I haven't done anything illegal. I don't do illegal things. And I definitely would show you a video of me doing an illegal thing. And they were like, but I just saw it. Oh my God. The men that we beat and choked were actors. They were my employees. This was their first day. They just applied for their jobs. They had big hair. They had big hair because they hadn't cut their hair yet. The next day, they actually cut their hair, and no one noticed who they were because they now have a haircut. And so they look totally different. The truth was there was no actual strikes. There was a rubber stick, and the reason why, again, no one saw them before, because never saw them again, is because they were in uniform the next day, looking completely different. So we got rid of real drug dealers without a single arrest. Oh, it did look good. It did look real, to be clear. They were out there for 4 hours. We had cars pull up, and they were, reaching the car, counting money. So the other drug dealers were kind of like, man, these guys are so successful. But they're really big. So the drug dealers didn't want to mess with these guys. But it was just an act. It was all a skit, a real life street skit. But what was amazing is from that day forward, no other gangs or thugs or drug dealer thugs wanted to come back to that corner. And we didn't have to beat up anyone, shoot anyone, incarcerate anyone, or plant any drugs or any of that foolishness they say you have to do. It's all psychology. Change the belief system. From that day forward, my little high school kid volunteer would come after school, would walk with a clipboard, walk up to real drug dealers who would try to be in the area, and just walk up to them and say, young man, sir, there's no drug dealing. And they would just take off running, and all they had was a clipboard. In hardcore Detroit, the murder capital of America, defeating them with a clipboard and a pen. That's it. It's all psychology. Just like the belief that there's all this violence. How is there all this violence and some nerdy guy from the suburbs goes there, he's not part of a gang, and scares all the gangs away? Because it's a narrative. We have a psychological narrative. That's like single moms make terrorists. Really? Single moms make terrorists? Because every single one of our mass shooters in America had a mom and dad. Ted Bundy had a mom and dad. And was in college, by the way. And all of our worst killers seem to go to college. So if we're using profiling, I guess you can't go to college anymore because it makes you into a killer. Unabomber, he's a professor. You can't be a professor because they killed people. So please, the concept we're working on, remember everyone at Enron? Yeah, they all went to college. So use this concept that if you don't go to college, you're a bad person. If you go to college, suddenly you're automatically going to be doing good stuff. Bernie Madoff, he went to college. Bernie Madoff did go to college. So using that concept, that this precept, this narrative that says that education somehow makes you a good person and uneducation makes you a poor and bad person is false. And we have to stop doing that, because what makes you bad is you being a negative person who wants to do nefarious things to other people. What makes you good is not doing that. That changes by the moment, doesn't it? Because before the professor was a bad guy, he was a professor. I'm sure at one point he wasn't bombing people, and then he decided to be a professor who bombs people. So, Ted Bundy, what was the guy down there?
Kaczynski?
Eating people.
Dahmer.
Dahmer was eating people. At one time he was a great soldier. They said that he'd go to a nightclub and all the girls wanted to go home with him. He had awards for the military. He had both parents in the home. They went to church. His dad had a PhD eventually and wrote a book about his son being this great serial killer. Don't ask me that word. But yeah, I thought, single moms do this. Single moms do this killing. Single moms create killers. Really? You seem to get a whole bunch of sports people, and I bet there's a whole bunch of people we didn't know were our single mom offspring. So we got to stop using narratives. These narratives are negative and nefarious. They fit stereotypes. Not true. And then that also harms you and your family, because next thing you know, a guy shows up at your house, even though the police said don't open the door, and it's Ted Bundy, and bad things happen to you because you were looking for someone else, right? If you're looking for behaviors, what are the chances of this guy showing up at my door who I would like to date, who with the cast on asking to use my phone? Something's wrong. If someone is psychologically prepared to understand predators, you would not open that door, and then those women would be alive right now. So we use psychology and the understanding of human behavior to protect us, not fear. Philosophy is the use of fear to make and determine courses of action, and that's going to always be wrong. Philosophy. Use no fear to determine your course of action. Only use facts. And at this time, I'd like to take any questions you guys may have. If you have any filming and trying to talk to the officer is the best thing you can do, because remember, anything that officer feels puts his life in danger can cause him to go to the next level of force, and that's legal. And so the reality is we're not really set up to accept the other alternatives. I've been in situations personally where it's the only reason the officers are alive is because of my training. You always look at every single situation from a positive, neutral, and negative standpoints. The negative is obvious when someone's doing something. What's a positive reason this could be happening? What's a neutral reason this could be happening? And if you don't do that, you're automatically going to think negative, and you're going to take a negative action. So you got to always be prudent. Try not to use violence to solve your issue, and if not, you're going to over-respond. And that false positive will cause you to do something that will ultimately become a very negative thing. It's a very good question, and it's a great answer, because there is no truly good answer except try to record, even though they're trying to make that illegal. And what our society doesn't understand, protesting is legal discourse. In the urban environment, just like in the country environments, things are solved differently. There's no protesting. You simply go get your cousins, you get your gun, you solve your issue. We call it crime in the inner city. In the country, they call it, I don't know what you're talking about. What do you say? You got a witness? You got nothing. Right? Hatfields of McCoy, big old joke. What is that? That's a bunch of people handling their own business with a lot of cousins, for a lot of years. Right? In the inner city, they call it crime. It's not crime. It's practice. If you saw someone, true story, kid says, what do I do? I'm this big nonviolence guy, right? So he says to me, he's this big. And I just found out that the FBI is looking for him. I said, what could you have possibly done, man? You're like 6th grade or something. He said, no. But I swear, it's like 6th grade. He's like this big. And he talks like this. Like this sound, this is FBI sound. I said, really? So the FBI is looking for you? What? He said, yes. Well, here's what happened. He said he had a twin brother, and his mom would never let him go outside and play. Him and his twin brother just stay in the house. They go to church, they go to school, they go home. That's it. They take the bus to school, they come here. The gang in the area wanted them to join. They would join, their mom would let them join, they didn't want to join. They're twins, they're little guys, and they just want to stay to themselves. So they go to the bus stop, and the gang guys that live just down the block drive up, shoot, kill his brother sitting next to him, laugh, and drive away. So this is a bus stop, broad daylight. So, police get there, he's sitting there in shock, he tells them what happened. He says that's the guys who did it, they're right there in the house. The bus stop's apparently across the street from the house. And the police don't do anything. So 1 week goes by, 1 month goes by. The guys are laughing, they drive by the bus stop laughing at him. So the kid decides he doesn't like that. You can't kill his twin brother and laugh. Apparently he's an American, not American. And he goes and gets his gun. From wherever he gets it from. He goes to the house where they're partying. He goes up that window in the basement and just unloads on the clique of guys down there.
Wow.
We call that crime. But it's not, it's justice. If the police would have just simply done their job, this would not have happened. The girl he killed would be alive. Now what are we going to do? He didn't mean to kill the girl. It's a bunch of guys down there. The only person that didn't hit the dust, that didn't hit the dirt, that didn't take cover is the girl. Everyone else took cover. He killed the girl. Now he's going to be somebody's girl in prison for the rest of his life. For what? For lack of safety. Just because, because think about it. If he would have joined the gang, this would never happen. All he and his twin brother had to do was join the gang. And they both have a good married lives. And maybe they go to prison, but they be with a clique of guys going to prison, right? They have some friends. Probably wouldn't even go to prison. 6 of us have been shot. 1 female, 5 men. Not one person's been prosecuted for shooting us. Not one person's been, you know, all the CSI stuff we see on television, laser beams, and talking to witnesses, and testing the tracks and tires, and doing all that claymation. And what? That is not real. In real life, the bullets you got, keep those in your body. They don't go all in there. That's what kills you, by the way. You get the bullets inside, your body cocoons them, throws them out about 20, 30 years. So, bullets might be one bullets in their body. The female, oh, by the way, none of us died. I know on TV, you get shot, that's it. One of my guys is 6 feet tall. He ate every 3rd day. He loved martial arts. He called me and he said, I have a problem. My tummy hurts. So I went over to where he's working. I said, what do you mean your tummy hurts? He goes, it's not feeling good. It's probably because you. I said, listen, you're a bodyguard. We have to bodyguard people who protect their lives, right? He's like, yes. I said, you got to be able to go through bullets. You have to be able to go through bullets. So a tummy ache is nothing. He was like, right. That night he caught 6 rounds.
Wow.
6 rounds. One went through his neck, through his arm, through here, all the way up through there. He was driving my truck. I never let anybody drive my truck. And this night I was assigned somewhere else. And I said, can you just go move some guys? And help this guy move from this other location. He said, yes. He drove my truck. This guy was in nice clothes, was running next to my vehicle, shooting. He only missed 2 rounds out of 8 rounds in a revolver. Does anybody know how many 8-shot revolvers there are? There's only a few makers. And this guy has one. And he can run and shoot accurately. That's amazing, isn't it? You should try that. Try shooting at anything moving. Now try you running and shooting accurately. That guy was amazing. Unfortunately, he's a bad guy. So, my guy gets shot up, crashed into 3 other cars. Insurance is a good thing. And he crashes into, that's how God works, a car that was just parked, a brand new car, and the owner is an ER nurse in Detroit. That's all she deals with is gunshot wounds. So she's like, oh my God, my new car, she just got home. She is not, she said she just came to the door. 5 minutes, she's been home. All of a sudden, bang, her new car has been crashed into by my guy. She runs out there, sees he's shot up, gets a blanket up her house, and starts to keep him warm and keep the blood inside. That's why he's alive right now. He's sparring a year later. He's now a legend in Detroit. And I think this give him, got the tube out of his mouth a week after getting shot. He said, first words out of his mouth were, I lost my awareness. He remembers looking down. When he looked up, the guy was there. He wasn't supposed to look down. And this is a part of what keeps you alive is your training. And he was always very serious about his training. The only reason he kept alive to this day was the fact that he did some things that helped keep him alive, which is mental. Right? So I tell you those things because what is important is how you behave, and you can't control what other people do. The police, to this day, have never canvassed anyone. Not one neighborhood. I even canvassed, got witnesses, statements, phone numbers. To this day, they have not called anyone. That first shooting was in 1996. Not one person has been called on the list I gave the police. I think the guy that I gave that to is dead now. He's died of old age, that officer is gone. That's how long ago that was. And he never called a single person on that list. So, you know, on television, they're like always like on the phone, like, yes, we have to find out information. There's none of that. Welcome to the real world. No laser beams, no line of fiber and all that. They're just like, man, you're shot. Wow, that's bad. It's bad for you. It sucks. But yeah, that's unfortunately, you know, right now, try to reason with them. What I do is I often try to interject or intervene, and I try to help create compliance so they don't kill the person. In simple situations, I've been instrumental in getting people into custody so the police don't kill them. Female, one time I swear they were going to beat her to death because they could not control her. So I guess eventually they're just going to stomp her to death. I was able to get her into control, get her into handcuffs, and get her into their control before they continued to stomp her. And the crowd was actually about to attack the police. So it was really about to happen. Once that happens, then the officers are gonna, come down where we're working and cause problems for all of us. So preventing violence and preventing violent situations can really be a very positive thing. And so don't be afraid to intervene in a positive way to sometimes help calm the person down to protect them from police abuse. And I've done that multiple times where the officer now can de-escalate because the civilian has stepped in, intervened, and helped, so he stops that stress. When the officers, remember this, they have 5.5 months of training. I want you to think about how you feel if you had 5.5 months of training and something that could kill you. 5.5 months of training, and when you're wrong, you could die. Oh, by the way, the part where it's physical, that's like 1 month of training. You imagine like 1 month, now you're like a ninja. It's impossible. A 1 month ninja program. This officer's kicking rocks, walking around, and in 5.5 months they have a gun and they can decide who to kill based on their feelings.
Right.
How that's a setup for the officer, their family, and of course society itself. Luckily, the reality is you can create a non-violent situation. Many times I coach people, so in a situation where law enforcement is what you can do, when the officers are saying they're not going to do something, what you can do is start asking questions. You don't ever want to try to tell a cop what to do. You can tell a cop. Also, you can step in, intervene, and create a non-violent outcome simply by not letting it escalate. So, in many situations I've had to do that just to save someone's life, just so the police officer will calm down. Remember, the adversarial to them, you want to spark change with them, and you also want to show support. Officer, I'm going to help you out with this guy over here. It's okay, I'm going to help you with this guy. All right, sir. Right? Because what they're going to do is get amped up and come beat the person up. You can be there to help calm it down and stop the violence. Remember to make the violence the issue. If you start getting involved emotionally, then you'll start to say something that can actually create a problem for you and the police. You don't want to do that. Any other questions? Well, apparently, if someone's trying to kill you, you're on your own. There's no like unkill you or anti-kill you police unit. Except there was here in LA, there's actually a threat management unit. You guys hear about that?
No.
Yeah, I don't think they want to talk about that anymore. But apparently they have a threat management unit, it's supposed to be for stars, but they actually use it for domestic violence in this one case. And they're proud of this. This is a good story for them. For us, this will be the end. So basically, like in a horror movie, the police are sitting out in front of a domestic violence victim's apartment. The domestic violence person is upstairs. She went to the police for help. The police are like, it's okay. You go upstairs, sleep. We cops are going to be right out front. Just like in the Jason movies and all that, right? Unlike in the Jason movies, where do the criminals go? Not to the police. They went inside. The guy who wanted to kill the girl went inside and killed the girl. But don't worry, the threat management unit of the LAPD was successful. They went in and killed him too. So it's a good story for them. For us, that is the exact opposite of what the management threat is. See, the girl wanted to be alive. I know I wasn't there, but I'm pretty sure she didn't want to die. And that's what we do. We just don't let that happen. I know it's this really remarkable, futuristic thought process, but maybe people don't want to be murdered. And that's what you can do if you're managing threat. Now the opposite of that is try to use laws to enforce why they shouldn't have killed your family. And there's stalkers, and I'd be really pissed if this is my family. They did this investigative ID or on True TV, I think it is, one of our national stories. It was on stalkers, and I think it's Nat Geo. And anyway, they had these 3 stories of stalkers, and one was like in the Midwest, one was on the West Coast, and then one was in Detroit. The only girl to live in this story, in these 3 stories, was the girl in Detroit. You know how pissed I'd be if I was the dad in one of those other stories or something. Your daughter, all of them have police in all 3 stories. They're like, yes, we knew the situation, and we assigned a detective, and we were looking into the situation when Sarah was killed. Like, damn. You can just tell her dad, we're not helping you, or dad, I'm like, okay, I'm getting my shotgun, going everywhere my daughter goes, she'd be alive right now. Instead, they went to the police said, you know what? Got you. We're gonna investigate this. And they did. And then the girls still got killed. The girl in Detroit, the one we helped, did not get killed. Because we did not let her get killed. We escorted her to home, to court, we escorted her to work, we took her kids to school, and we did all that for free. My staff did that for free. My staff is multicultural, multi-ethnic, we have different religions, different ages and different sexes of people, and everyone protects everyone. We protect people out in the country. One time we had a guy cut his tether off, and he was way out in the country, a place where there's not even a highway out there. It takes like an hour, it takes 30 minutes once you get off the highway to get to their house. And I was at the house from Detroit to this country area within 45 minutes from the call, from the time the tether was cut. I was going kind of fast. That's the only time we speed those, I'm saving lives. I beat the police there. How can I beat the police somewhere 10 cities away? The police said they had something better to do. They were actually drag racing. The police were drag racing. They didn't have time to really be at the house where the lady was abducted. So what we do is we act like each person is a member of our family, and then we do what we would do for our own family. What would you do if that was your family member missing? What would you do if someone was coming after your family? What would you do if that was your mom, your sister, your daughter, your grandparents? What would you do for your family? That's the answer. You would not sit there and go, okay, grandma, someone's kicking in the door. All right, let's write a report about that. You would not do that. You rush over there right now, go to my grandmother's door. And so if you treat everyone like family, you're going to find you're going to have a much better quality of life for yourself, your family, your neighbors. And if we all did that, if police would do that, then we'd have a much more favorable reaction from police and from citizens towards police. But that's what's going to be required to see that evolution, to see that change. People have to embrace other people as though they're family and protect them accordingly.
Just in closing, a couple things. One, what happened in Detroit, people talk about the bankruptcy and other things. At the end of the day, people moved out. And they moved out because they were not safe. Let's be clear. Nobody moved out because someone sold someone marijuana or crack or anything else. They moved out because people were being murdered, killed, harassed, and nobody cared. It's not that nobody cared, it's just that when they did care, the police put them in jail. Heroes in Detroit were locked up. We had a CPL law that came through, the Castle Act was passed, and now they had an 80,000% increase in shootings in Detroit. These were legal shootings where people were killing people who were trying to kill other people. And all of a sudden they were troubled by that. I mean, people got licensing and all of a sudden they started killing each other? No, before, in Detroit, if you were a hero, you just get put in jail. You saved yourself, they're like, great, go to jail. You saved your neighbor, great, go to jail. No matter what happened, at the end you did something where you're saving people, you go to jail. Like I told you, the police were harassing me, and I couldn't believe it, because I watched television, I saw those movies about the inner cities, and I was like, well, you just gotta go help them, right? The police were actually helping the criminals. They were putting the good, heroic citizens in jail. And I can tell you they can't do that now, so that's why they see this 80,000% increase in shootings by civilians. It wasn't that, it's that finally you can't put them in jail because there's a law protecting them from prosecution. Nothing changed, except now all the soft targets, the old people, the regular people. In fact, we heard some cops laughing about an 80-year-old lady who got raped, 70-something-year-old lady who got raped, and her gun was in her purse. And they thought it was funny. Like, what's funny about that? Why would that be funny to you? She gets raped because her gun is in her purse. You get raped. There are females in Detroit, in the police department, and it's probably other police departments too, but there are lawsuits for female cops being raped by male cops in the police department, and something to think about. If the guy is armed and the girl is armed, what would be the plan of action if the man goes to rape the girl? She's going to pull her gun out and go on a blaze of glory? So the only thing really worse than getting raped is probably getting killed. She probably thinks that right at that moment. If she pulls the gun, won't he pull his gun? Therefore the rape.
Now that's just the female. I heard of 3 stories for sure. There's got to be more than that. And of course, most women don't come forward. So how many female officers are being raped by male officers? Much bigger problem, how many female non-officers are being raped by male police officers? And who knows else? The bottom line is, if we create conditions, these negatives will happen. And if we don't have the conditions, they can't have those outcomes. So, for example, the police should not be able to control the cameras in the cars. If that happened, you wouldn't have problems in the cars. So there is always a solution, and it doesn't have to be a violent one. And if you create a pretty solution, you don't even have to prosecute someone for doing something wrong because they never did the wrong thing. So the police department thought the police officer was robbing someone out in the suburbs of the suburban department because people were saying that. So what they did was they set him up with some marked bills and a drunk guy. How about the fact that he has a house that costs more than he makes? Wouldn't that be a clue? Why don't they run a check on the credit of the officers, just like they do when they join, that determines whether they can still be on the force or not? If they have a seriously bad financial condition, you know what's going to happen. Nothing good for the officer or our society. But they don't, and now the officer's robbing his neighbors, and what do? They set him up, they film the officer, and what does he do? Go to prison? No. If they studied themselves, they would know quite a few of them killed themselves. And those that don't kill themselves did what he did. Killed his dog, his son, his wife, and then himself. But wasn't that all that death avoidable if they simply would have realized he is about to move into a house, close a mortgage on a house he cannot afford, and he's a government worker? They should have made that a prerequisite for his employment. That could have managed that situation. He wouldn't be able to put himself in that situation, which then mentally puts him in a physical situation to then kill his whole family. You think he's the only officer that did that? Probably not. But we have a way that we can monitor and manage those kinds of people that work for us in the government, and we should do that. And that's how we would stop them from robbing us in those conditions, or at least curtail that. And now that officer would probably be alive right now in a smaller house. Right? Okay. We're going to go over some gun disarms. Anybody who wants to learn or see some gun disarms up here, we're going to do that over here. And we're just going to do a few of those before we leave for today. And you're welcome to come up to the front and learn some as well, if you'd like. Okay. So that's how the brain works. You have to make sure you're processing.
Can't hear you.
You got to make sure that you're processing. Stand over here. So what he just did was he shot as soon as he saw me move, which is normal. The human mind takes 2,000 of a second to respond, stimulates 1,000 of a second to initiate action. So when I moved my hand, his brain said, I think he has a weapon, let's fire, I see the action. So you'll see police officers often kill someone, and you'll say, why did they shoot that guy? He put his hands up. The brain cannot perceive it fast enough to stop the trigger from being struck. So it's a biomechanical mistake that they're operating under. So it's not that he's a bad shooter, it's not that he's a bad decision maker. He's a normal human making a rapid decision, and the police officer cannot, nor can the citizen, make a determination based on the values that you see, because by that time you've already made the decision to shoot or not anyway. So the way to stop it from happening is by operating differently. And what we teach police officers is this: put the gun behind your back. So instead of me sitting here making a determination based on what I see when he pulls his hand up, what I do instead is I close the gap. By closing the gap, I can find out if he has a gun, I can redirect the gun, I can strip the gun. If he goes to shoot me when I approach, when I come forward, he goes to shoot me, shoot. I can redirect the gun, and if I got shot, it's only one shot. I'm able to return fire and dominate the shooter, if that's what I decided to do. If I wasn't gun dependent and I wasn't thinking with my gun, and he had the gun behind his back, I rush forward, he pulls the gun out, I'm able to come in and keep the gun from coming into play. Shoot him, he's not going to stop, he's going to shoot me back. We're both going to shoot each other, because pistols shoot at less than 3,000 feet per second, which means they create what's called a short-term wound cavity.
Your body is literally sealing behind the bullet path of anything that's a short-term wound cavity. So pistols do not have the stopping power. What they have is the ability to create small holes leading to hypovolemic shock, which will eventually stop you. Not in the next minute or two. A minute or two under combat conditions of life and death struggle is like all day. So imagine you could dump, 100 rounds on someone in a minute or two. So this is a counterproductive thought process. This is why corrections officers do not have guns in prisons. They do not work on prisoners in close quarters. I'm sure lots of corrections officers had to die to figure that out. The Secret Service carries many guns and has used them exactly 0 times. Why is that? Because no one tried to kill the president? No, people did try to kill the president. It turns out your field of fire wasn't clear. What would happen if they took out their MAC-10, which shoots 1,250 rounds per minute? 1,250 rounds per minute. What would happen if they pulled that out and fired the 200 to 1,250 rounds, which would take probably a couple seconds? So it shoots out, they shoot this up because they only carry 30 rounds. So 30 rounds takes half a second or something. What would happen? A bunch of police officers, civilians would be shot as they tried to hit John Hinckley or whoever else was trying to kill the president. So they didn't. They did make a very serious mistake with President Reagan. They actually moved past the bulletproof glass and actually got shot there. That's how the president got shot. And then one of these Secret Service guys just kept jumped in front of the president and got shot. But the presidential limo is bulletproof. They could have just stood behind the glass. And they're being prudent in thinking they would have just took the president, put him down, not did what their training says to hurry up and take him, rush him into the vehicle. And in doing so, the bullets actually skipped down between the door and the car and actually hit President Reagan. And all they had to do was stop him right here, and that would have never happened. So you got to always process under stress and duress and not just panic and respond with aggression. So when it comes to disarming weapons, we'll use this one for this one. Point the gun here. And you're going to pull the trigger when I move. Okay. 1, 2. The way that works is this. 1, he's going to shoot when I move. It takes 2,000 of a second for him to respond to stimulus, which is why every time I move, his brain decides to shoot. So unless I'm still standing here, I try to use my hands first, I will always be able to not get shot, because the first move is my hand moving out of the way, bullet goes, I take the web of the hand under here and the web to the rear, redirect, and now I'm in possession of the weapon. So by the move, by the steps, by the numbers, it's 1, 2, 3, and now you have control of the weapon. If you don't want to fire, you strip, and you have the weapon. It's your decision. If a person holds a weapon, who's familiar with weapons here? When a person holds a weapon, the weapon is a lever. Stand right here, please. Point the gun this way. Push the gun towards me. Push with 2 hands. Yep. Grab the gun with 2 hands. Yep. Push hard. So he's pushing hard, harder. Yep. Now watch this. Now push. Push with your feet. Push. So if I grab here, the person can overpower me. If I put a finger here, I can control the direction of this weapon. No matter how strong the person is, it's a lever. It's physics. So we actually can control the weapon, and it's not because of strength. His hands are strong. It's because the weapon is a lever in the hands. So in real life, we wouldn't run up to someone and go, ha! We just know that we have a great amount of leverage if we simply grab the barrel. We can control it, we can take it downward, we can take it upwards, we can strip it back around. So just sorry. We have control as long as we grab the barrel of the gun. If we grab the arms of the gun, we don't have anything. Now we can be easily killed. All he has to do to kill me when I grab here is simply back up or fall down. If you were to fall down, automatically the barrel lines up and kills me. It has nothing to do with strength. So I can be great, I get the gun, wait, here, he falls on his back, and it's just going to shoot me right in the face, right in the chest. So police officers are dying every year that way. Citizens are dying every year that way. just not having that biomechanical understanding of how to keep control of a weapon.
The only thing
in
that
close
got me
quarters.
when you grab it is burn your hand or possibly put a bullet inside of your hand. That's not going to kill you.
Right. You won't even notice it. Your adrenaline's going to be flowing.
You will not notice.
You will have no issues.
My eye was laying on my face and I didn't know it because
Feel it later.
Yeah. So, controlling the weapon here is how you make sure that you can live. Trying to control the weapon here is how you die. Life, death. Captain Kirk, this kills Captain Kirk in real life. Even though in real life he was, right? And what you want to do is grab the barrel, and now you have control. And now you can live. So remember to grab the barrel. All right. So, in welcome, guys.
Oh, you
That is an anti-kill pistol.
should have walked out backwards.
This is the only kind of gun you can use in the crowd. It doesn't kill anyone. Okay, so if I pull out a weapon, you have to fire. All right.
Get my good eye, wide in the right eye.
Okay. Shoot me if I move. Pull the gun. Control. Control. See how hard it is though with the brain?
I would usually shoot this way.
Yeah, with the brain.
Oh yeah, no, I've got 44 years of martial arts. My eye has been constant.
Yeah, it's the same, whether it's a gun or your hands or fists. It's all the same.
This is an extension of me.
That's it.
Every weapon is an extension of me.
So when you don't even have the basic understanding of fundamental movement,
You don't know
then
what
everything's mysterious.
Yeah.
Mysterious.
That's why 99% of that crowd wouldn't know what to do. That's why when you kept turning it on me, I was very impassive.
Law enforcement officers will go, oh my God, I have no idea what just happened. How'd that happen? How did that? I don't understand. I had him dead to rights. Because if you don't understand biomechanics, everything's gonna be mysterious, right? It's like the guy boxing someone going, I saw you punch, so I went to block it, and somehow you still hit me. Because you waited for the hand to move. You have to anticipate. Well, the first thing that happens is you hear it.
Yeah, I heard it click. That's why I kept it.
Yeah, the first thing that happens when we hear it, that's what happens. What's happening is your body is still there. You gotta move this in front first. Here. The face was still there. Just move your head first. That's all you gotta do. And everything else will work out. There's nothing I can do to defeat that.
I'm watching your tendon.
Well, there's nothing I can do to stop that. If you do anything other than move what's in front first, though, the bull's still gonna hit the face. All you gotta do is move in front. There's 100 different things you can do as long as what's in front first moves. So if it's under the chin, right? If they get you under the chin first, as long as you move what's in front of the gun first, it's fine. If anything else happens, oh yeah, your hearing's gonna be messed up, but you'll be fine. So if we're here and the guy's up under your chin, if I try to do any moves at all, it's gonna be a shot. When I come here, the first shot would be here, and my body can make determinations here. All right? Least number of motions possible. So in a close quarter situation here, come here.
Open the door, Perry.
See that?
Will you stop the mechanism?
Right, fingers behind the trigger. 1, 2, and then we're in position to dominate here. So we actually have a lock on the wrist, and we have the ability to fire if necessary, because we have multiple aggressors. It's in the side of the head. Right here I can see it's on my temple or around my temple, which means I have less brain here and I have more here. So I'd have to go back because I decrease the likelihood of my brain getting struck, right? Whereas if I went here, I increase because the amount of brain is there.
Side drop
So-
balance and go forward.
Yeah, we can go either way if you need to, but don't move. Right at him. If you see me trying, then you're gonna shoot him. Say, don't move!
Don't move.
Fingers in the eyes, weapon is hyperextended, and
taken from the person stripped, they're removed from the weapon.
How about septum?
Yep, you can use the septum too. If you don't want to hurt them like it's a kid, old person, family member, you can just go like that and they'll let the gun go. If it's a more violent situation, you hook the eye. Back, front here, go. Middle of the chest. Now, when it's in the middle of the chest, it's hard to breathe because it's in the middle of the chest. So it's your center. So if I try to move, there's too much body movement, so there's no way I can move all that. Cock it again.
Bring it down.
What's that?
Bring it down.
What we have to do is keep it from firing.
Oh.
So right here, we lock the hammer, so it can't fire. And if we don't want to use the hammer, same thing, cock it again. We'll come here. So now what I did was I've seized the slide, pushing the slide to the rear, and I redirect it. And I've controlled the slide as it goes back forward. And we can decide to fire or not fire. Well, the route we got to know because we got to stop it from moving. Because if I try to move it down, look, you just fire. See that? I actually just got shot. This is actually like that. If I do that, I have to.
I just want to see if I break this one. He's got the slide there that have my chest, so I'm going to clear.
That move. Right. When you first push it down, it's
He's
going
going
to
to
fire.
find it. So you can't do this.
You have to block it. No, you want to keep it. See if it comes off. It's going
You
to
can pull it back.
Well, it's actually going to naturally do that. So when you push it down, you're actually coming out of range. It's going to fire forward now. So you want to, if you're going to trap this, you want to keep keep it in. Exactly. You might be able to remember our first movement is going to cause a pull if you had intention.
Yeah.
Of course, most
people don't have intention. 99% of them would have shot you and I just
Exactly, and then here's what happens. A lot of times during these movements, you actually make them shoot. So you wanna inhibit the movement. See, what I did was here is I took maintain control. Right?
With revolvers, it doesn't work the same. That's why.
Right, with a revolver, you grip the whole
You gotta
thing.
grip the whole
Yep.
entire
And
cylinder.
this should also go back to the back of the cylinder in case it's exposed. If it's not exposed, of course, that's not going to help. That's good because that means grabbing the cylinder seized the ability for it to rotate in the first place. The cylinder's frozen, it can't fire, and you redirect. And now you still have the
Revolver. Revolvers also, the reason why is because they're the same right there. He's got that, that's a revolver. And I still got those slide.
Yeah, that would definitely work. Yep.
And it's hit him.
Yeah, as long as you get that cylinder, you're good. And that third person.
I have not done this in 4 years, but that's fine.
You see that third person. Well, in close quarters, when you are armed, when you're armed, and that weapon's out, you redirect and maintain control of the barrel while you dominate.
Same
So
thing.
I'm here.
So you got two.
He's got the weapon on me. So here.
So now, this came up before in one of my classes.
I guess you get shot. This actually happened to me. I actually got robbed. And I was successfully robbed. Let me be clear. I was robbed, and it was successfully robbed. Because as I was thinking about disarming the one guy, let's stand over here. Well, I didn't think of that. I didn't watch enough movies or something. So I was sitting here like this. The guy was right here, and the only gun I saw was this one at first. So the guy tried to knock the phone out of my hand, and I went like this, and I'll call you back. So I was like, oh, this is great. I'm gonna have a great story to tell people. I'm about to get robbed. I'm gonna take this gun, and it's gonna be a great disarm story. And all of a sudden, this guy right here goes, "You heard him!" I was like, "You heard him? What do you mean you heard him?" Now I'm in shock. This guy has a gun to my head. This guy has right here 2 hands. Put 2 hands on it.
More room between the two.
He was right here, and this guy, there was another guy in front of me who was yelling something through a mask, and I just kept saying, "What? What?" And finally pulled the mask down. I had a pistol under this hand, and I had a stun gun under this arm. When I lifted my arms up, because there was no belt
and it was a shoulder holster. They flipped up. They both
yeah.
flipped up in the air. So when the guy here started searching, he didn't feel it at first. I was like, oh my God, I'm being robbed and they won't find my gun. Then all of a sudden, he found my gun. It's like, damn it, this guy's my gun. And so as I was sitting here like this, I thought to myself, and you guys are gonna shoot if I move, okay? Yeah. It would've worked.
Yeah. That's why I'm just.
That's not what I did. What I did is I was like, damn it, please, here, God.
I did that like 25 plus years ago.
I was in the news.
But that's something I haven't tried that.
I was in the news
It
for
worked, though.
refusing to give up my shoes. It said security guard.
They wanted your shoes.
Yeah. And I was giving my shoes up. I was like, come on, man, you got my gun. Come on, you guys.
I carried
Took your
that one.
shoes?
And the newspaper guy wrote that I was an armed security guard, which you can't be an armed security guard. You can only be, no, I was the only person with a CPL, concealed pistol license in the entire area. So all the cops knew who I was. And they told the guy I was a security guard. The reporter. So the reporter put in there, security guard gives up gun, refuses to give up shoes.
Oh, really?
I did not refuse to give my shoes, I just gave them slowly. I was like, come on, man. You guys got everything. You got my wallet, got my gun. And then they wrote that I didn't give them my shoes. Bastard. That was embarrassing. And then everyone knew me, so they were like, did you get... Yes, I got robbed. These little boys, man, they were like just clean cut
That's
little
what
boys.
happens all the time.
I wasn't scared of them at all. I was like, these are boys.
They wouldn't have shot you anyway.
Oh, I'm sorry.
By accident.
No, let me be clear. These boys went down the street. They went across the street. They started aiming at these shadows that were about 150 yards away, and I was standing there. I was still being a little tough. I was like this. I was like, these little punk ass boys. Then all of a sudden they went, they started shooting at these shadows. I was like, you're shooting at shadows. Those could be old people, kids, you have no idea. And that's when I was like, oh, wait a minute, they're gonna shoot me. Now behind me is a 10-foot fence, I can't go anywhere. This is in Virginia. And in Virginia, you don't run in people's backyards for any reason. Because you will get shot or eaten by pit bulls. There's no way to run. And it's all out in the open out here. These kids went down a little further. I'm trying to see where their getaway car is. All of a sudden they unload on me at a distance of, I don't know, maybe 100 yards. And when they started shooting, I saw a muzzle flash. I just laid on the ground like, oh, act like I got shot. It worked. They took off. But yeah, man,
It's fun to do stuff with people that know what the hell they're doing.
I probably would have tried that move. I would have thought it was possible for two people to rob at the same time. I never thought of that. All my gun disarms were always like one person.
That's why I try to practice one of them.
You never know. Now we do them on our knees, from the back.
The number one thing is if you're gonna give up everything because you're gonna never day to find everything.
Yeah. Well, in this case, you can see these. Well, the one guy was in front of me, and he took my gun. He was going like this, and I was like, "Are you trying to shoot me with my gun?" No, I was kind of poor, so my gun was kind of poor, and what it was that my release wasn't good, so I had a little tape on there. So you had to smack it up.
Oh, on your.
Yeah, thank God. 'Cause I don't think he knew how to take the safety off either, but you had to smack it up to make it work. And he was just like. Then he was like, forget it. Took off my gun. Yeah, but he was trying to shoot with my own gun. Luckily it didn't work good. What if I had a really good gun, like a Glock or something?
Yeah.
It doesn't ever fail. That kid would have shot me dead. But also never keep a bullet in your chamber no matter what. That's what I teach cops that
First
too.
chamber empty.
Police officers shoot themselves in the legs all the time.
Even in a revolver, first